Hey team, welcome back to the show. Today it is Natalie, Andrea, and myself for a Q&A. Been a while since we've had the whole dream team together, so excited to have an episode with all three of us again. Um, since it's been a bit, let's get into some personal updates quick. If y'all have anything exciting going on. Uh, Andrea, anything crazy happened to you in the last couple of weeks since we last did personal updates? Did we do them last week?
No, we didn't.
Sick. All right,
I've
what do
been
you got going on?
reverse dieting. I had my, I can't remember if we updated for my second show. I had my second show. I was happy with that. I placed about the same as fifth in both of my classes, but I was just much more happy with that result because I felt like I did better. Um, that show was interesting. I liked it. It was a pro am show. I really liked some aspects of it, and some aspects it felt like really rushed. But overall, really good show. I had a lot of fun. And then since that point, I've been just in a reverse diet. So first week, my carbs jumped immediately to 300 grams of carbs, which I had been bringing food up into the second show anyway. So it wasn't dramatic in terms of the like a ton more food, but I reintroduced all the foods that I was eating previously. Like I just went back to my own meal plan. And I guess like a microbiome thing or whatever, like I had completely shifted my stomach to not being used to all those foods. And I was just so bloated and uncomfortable for the first full week. And I was like, oh no. And my weight shot up by like 6 pounds, even after being full of glycogen. But since that point, it hasn't continued to trend up, and I'm now like feeling fine with all my new normal foods again. So I'm feeling good now at this point. She lowered my carbs a little bit on my rest days. So now I'm at 300 carbs on my training days and 225 carbs on my rest days, which
Okay.
makes more sense for like the history of what I've eaten in the past,
Okay.
especially starting out.
Yeah,
But yeah, I feel good now.
yeah, I think we talked about your show last time we talked, if I recall
Oh,
correctly.
okay.
But yeah, we're all so proud of the way you showed up for that, and definitely getting that you look great
Thank
for
you.
the first show. Huge improvements in terms of like the posing, things of that nature. I would agree. It seemed like just watching the live stream, it seemed like things were just so rushed by the time you were getting on. Um, but it was just as we all expected. Like you nailed every bit of the process. So it was very cool to see you go through all this. What is your focus like from here? Is it just like build more muscle across the board? What's the goal?
No, I did get feedback. The
Okay.
judges' feedback wasn't really making a ton of sense. Like I'm not so sure she knew which one I was, and so my coach asked us a different judge, like sent him pictures and everything, and he said just keep building upper outer glute, especially because I'm more dominant with my upper body, which I think just comes from like I'm just wide, like I just have wide shoulders, wide clavicles.
Good problem to
Um,
have.
yeah. Um, so I have one set of lateral raises for the week now, and it's basically like glute day, hamstring day, upper glute day, and back. Like it's all glutes.
Have you thought about getting like your lats shaved down a little bit
I thought you were gonna say like glute implants.
or glute implants? You could do either or, I guess. Um, I'm excited to see how that progresses. That sounds like such a bummer to not be able to train a whole lot of delts, but I know with
Yeah.
the goals for you, think you'll crush it.
I still have a
Cool.
decent bit of lat work. So that's fun. And I really do enjoy the lower body work. Like I'm just used to basically every day being lower body day now. But
Yeah.
it'll be a fun challenge to have such a specificity on glute med, basically.
Yeah, it'll be really cool to see how that develops. Like for someone as advanced as you and with as much tissues you already have, like how much you can change that because I'm sure you'll make incredible progress knowing you. Cool. Anything else on your end?
What is your training like from an effort intensity standpoint right now?
So I started out just going. I still had a couple sets to failure or zero, I should say zero RIR basically. And um then she changed up my training. I took a day off on Tuesday because I wasn't feeling my best. And then today I had back day and pushed it to failure. So there's no intensifiers right now, but the sets are basically all to failure.
Yeah, that makes sense too, because like you haven't been like actively dieting for quite a while now.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I didn't assume I would really need a whole lot of time off because
Yeah.
the training also just didn't feel that intense with like my lower back injury. I had to pull way
Yeah.
back with that for a bit. So it has felt like I've just been out of the groove with it for a significant amount of time. So I'm just pushing, I'm back to pushing it.
Lower back is doing good, and you're like pushing your lower body stuff fully again.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had very many days to be able to do it yet, but so far I've had a heavier split squat day and that felt good. And I've had a heavier RDL day and that felt good.
Sick. Good. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you're back to normal. Natalie, what's been going on with you, big dog?
Not a whole lot. I got back from a little trip that I went on, where I took the week off of training. Um, and this was like all discussed with my coaches and everything. It was just really good timing. I had some like aches and pains that were being kind of annoying and like hadn't taken really any time off in a very long time. Um, and then the nature of the trip was just like I was going into the mountains, and it's like it would take me like 30 to 40 minutes like one way to get to a gym for like cardio or whatever. And it was like a family vacation, which we never do.
Yeah.
So again, not how I wanted to like spend my time, basically like going on vacation, but not actually being with the family. So as discussed, did also a little diet break because I'm in the middle of a cleanup phase as well.
Hmm.
So kind of just came up to maintenance for that, so I could just not blow it out of the water, but also just not like micromanage things like family dinners sort of thing.
Yeah.
So what that ended up looking like was I just ate like all of my normal foods and meals. Like I still meal prepped for the trip and like brought a lot of my own food just so that it was like ready to go. Because again, I also didn't want to spend my family vacation like meal prepping. So basically, 3 out of 4 meals were the same thing I always eat, and then I would just do like something with the family, which was always like grilled protein, basically. So that worked out really nicely.
Then like
Um,
a little
and so
treat
then
at the end of the night.
it's just always a sweet treat every night. Now, I did have like I made a cake for my brother-in-law's birthday, so obviously I had a piece of that. But
Natalie is an incredible baker,
uh,
FYI. Don't ever let
I
your
really
daughter
like
send
to
you
bake.
cookies. They're so good. It's a problem. It's a problem every time you send them. It's so nice, but I'm like, oh my God, I cannot stop eating
I'm
these.
always
It's
trying to
crazy.
like because I love the process of baking, and I love
Yeah.
like sharing with people. So I basically like love the creative process, and then like try and get rid of all of them and give them to all my friends. Shout out Nick Ridpath, who is like a certified garbage disposal, by the way. He like is the recipient of like all of my baking efforts. And
Incredible.
like the dudes at the front desk of my gym, like I walk in and they're like, "We haven't had any cookies in a while. Are you dieting?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh, okay." Like they always like know when I'm dieting. But anyway, so it's just been back to business this week. So like right back. I mean, I barely even sent any updates to my coach. Obviously, I did check in, but it was just like, okay, like here it is, just doing what I was doing before. He's like, okay. Like that was my check-in. And so like, yeah, that's it. No
Yeah.
changes.
One thing I always appreciate about Dom is he doesn't feel like he needs to over-explain things, which is a strength.
Never. Yeah.
Cool.
But also
Um,
like Dom does work in mysterious ways, but this was the week I was like, I know exactly what he's gonna say. Like
yeah.
I mean, and I think my clients will relate too, because honestly, like probably with all of us, right? Like your client comes back from a trip and the conversation is really usually just like, okay, let's just get back to it.
Oh
Like
yeah,
if
for
we
sure.
were some, yeah, if we were like there, it's pretty rare that someone's gonna come back from a trip and like if they, especially if they weren't like closely adherent. You know, if they had a little bit more flexibility for travel, it's rare
Mhm.
that we're going to be like, cool, let's make some sweeping changes.
Right. We just need to get back to a baseline. I have had
Yep.
two people come back from Italy in the last couple weeks, and both of them like got way leaner. It's been an interesting
That's
thing.
awesome.
Yeah, like
Did they
Lauren
have like
Tonks, who had,
did they have like
go ahead.
50,000 steps? 50,000
Uh,
steps a day or like
Sounded like there was a lot of walking for everyone. But again, I mean, in the past, I had a client go to on her honeymoon to Italy. This is just like my first remembrance of like an experience of like this happening. Like, I had a client go on her honeymoon to Italy, and I mean, she gained like over 10% of her body weight, and it was like stuck around. So ever
mm,
since then, whenever I have a client head that way, I'm like, let's
well
see. But
done.
yeah, impressive for sure. On my end, let's see. I am still in my cleanup phase as well. Things weren't moving a whole lot there for a couple weeks. I was like stuck around 228 pretty consistently, and we dropped food. So we dropped like 400 calories. I dropped from 3,200 to 2,800, and cardio was what 3 days, 35 minutes each. And I mean, just with that adjustment, he moved my check-in up to Monday. So just since Monday, I'm down to 225. So things are moving a bit quicker. We had our boys trip with Straker and a couple other guys. That was super cool. We were just an absolute recomp in Dallas. Just so fun to just like, I mean, we just basically wrecked ourselves training for like 3 days. It was like lots of like, you'd think you were done with a set, and then somebody's like, oh gosh, you keep going, like lots of force reps and things like that. But it was such a good time, honestly. I feel like that's like, we just basically, we went to this one sushi place. That was the only place we went. Like the first day we got there, we went there pre-training and then went back again post-training, and just ate like a ton of nigiri. So I mean, I basically just ate a bunch of like tuna on top of rice, and then like cooked the rest of our food. And basically, it'd be like we wake up, eat a meal, talk for a bit, eat another meal, be at the gym for like 4 hours, come back, eat, cook again, eat, and go to bed. It was like the ideal vacation, I would say. So that was a good
Incredible.
time. Yeah, it was so fun. You guys would have loved it.
And Andrea and I are still confused as to why we weren't invited.
I honestly kind of am too. I was saying there, I was like, Natalie is more of my bro than any of my bros. Like, I was
It'd basically be like our team meetup plus a couple extra guys.
Yeah.
basically, basically, yes. Um,
I'm surprised you didn't convince Nick Rogers to go.
I
I was trying
tried.
my hardest.
Yeah, I think that he had taken enough time off with going to my shows that he didn't want to take more time off, but maybe
Maybe
that was
next
just his
time.
excuse.
Nick would
No,
have loved
maybe
it,
next
except for
time.
he would have been the most jacked person there. Straker is massive since the last
Yeah.
time I saw him as well, though, as I would expect. But yeah, I felt very small, but it was a super fun time. All right,
Well, Andrea and I are going to do our own bro trip this weekend,
you guys
so
have to.
Yeah.
you'll be
Oh,
missing
I actually okay. I have FOMO on that, but I'll talk to you guys more about that later. Um, I don't want to hear about it.
Before
I'm bummed
we
about that one.
start in on the questions, I want to give Ashley a shout out, who is
Shout
when
out
this
to Macro
releases.
Friendly Mama. Yes,
Macro Friendly Mama is competing tomorrow when this comes out. So she's doing her first show. She's competing in bikini tomorrow. The following week, she's going to do fit model. And then she's going to do a third one, which is going to be OCB bikini. So she's just kind of sampling all different types of shows and categories to see how things go and how she likes it. But she's looking really good. Proud of her.
her physique has changed so much. It's crazy. I'm very impressed with what y'all have done. And I mean, I know you guys have been working together for a long time, but it's been so cool to see you guys go through the prep. It seems like she's nailed all the process, and like,
She really
because she's
has.
pulled 30 pounds, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a
in like
big
29 or
chunk.
30 weeks.
Yeah, in not a whole lot of time, relatively speaking, and she's a small
Hmm.
person anyway, so she's about 100 pounds right now.
Right? Like, that's, I mean, close to 25% of her, like 20% of her body weight probably that she lost. That is
Hmm.
not easy to do. I feel like
Yeah,
anytime you
Hmm.
get over, of course, it's relative to like where you're starting, but anytime you get over like 10% down, it starts to hurt. So yeah, shout out to Macro Friendly Mama. I am very excited to see how it goes. Um, Y'all have done such great work, and it's been so cool to see that process.
yeah, excited to
Cool.
go this week.
All right, you guys ready for some Q&A?
Ready?
Hmm.
Okay, first question we have. I'm about 18% body fat via DEXA, beginner to intermediate lifter. 1 year in, I'm an easy gainer. I'm being advised to continue to cut. 42-year-old mother of 2 kids. Love lifting and getting stronger, but no plans to compete. Maybe a photo shoot one day, but no firm timeline. Will dieting get exponentially harder from here? Is it worth continuing to cut better to better understand underlying musculature so areas to work on are more clear or not the right focus at this stage? And then she also gave me progress pictures, her most recent progress pictures, which we can share here. You guys see this? I'll zoom in a bit. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see this as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically her questions here were, does it make sense to diet from here, and will dieting get exponentially harder from here? I don't think dieting, like, it just kind of very gradually gets harder. I honestly think, like, if you can get basically like going from fluffy to lean, that's a big jump in your skill set. And then going from lean to ripped, that is, takes another big jump in your dieting skill set and kind of your mentality around it. But like, do y'all think, like, for you guys, like, is week 10 of contest prep exponentially easier than like 2 weeks out? That might not be a good example, actually.
I think that there's just a lot of context that I would want to know. Like, how
Hmm.
long has she been dieting? Where
Hmm.
did she start? How experienced is she with dieting? Oh, beginner, intermediate lifter, but like, what is her experience with dieting? Has she been this lean before? So, all of those things matter. And then also, if it's, I don't know who's advising her to continue getting leaner, but if it's a coach that's been working with her for a while, they probably have a lot more of that context that is
Yes.
going to inform them on if that's a good move or not. So first and foremost, I would listen to them if that's who it is. I I think that if you're deciding it's going to get harder, it will. But that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. She's pretty lean. Like if she were to hit a quad flex, I think her lower body would probably look leaner too, versus what it is just sort of standing there relaxed. But I could go either way. Like I could argue both directions on building from here or continuing to get a bit leaner before starting to focus on building.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. Listen to your coach first and foremost. We have way less context. I think from the perspective of like, hey, are we lean enough to start productively building? Yeah. Like I wouldn't have a problem with a client around this body fat building. I think like somewhere, again, like it's a rough estimate, but somewhere around like 20%, or if we're a little bit leaner than that, sick, that's a good place for us to start our building phase. I don't think that from here, like you'll be able to see like more shape in like your quads, glutes, for example, if you get leaner. But like from a like uncovering tissue perspective, we can really already see about how much mass you have. And I would for sure say like just from a objective, like without knowing what your physique goals are, we just probably need to add more muscle across the board. So I don't think you're gonna like learn a whole lot different by pushing further. But it's always fun to get more ripped, right? Like if you want to get leaner, there's nothing wrong with it. Anything you would add there, Natalie?
Yeah, I'm just curious about where you are within the current process. Like, have you hit a sticky point or like are you smooth sailing? Because
Yeah.
if you're like
That's a good
cruising
point.
and this actually isn't that much of a lift for you, then I could see like if I was the coach and this is where my client was and you were like just smoking this fat loss phase, I'd be like, well, bro, like, and biofeedback was still in a good spot. So like, yeah, I'm not going to get into that, but let's say like no pushback from the body, biofeedback's in a good spot, energy's good, like training is still good. I'd be like, yeah, like
Keep
why
it
not
going.
run it out?
Yeah.
Yeah, because at that point, I mean, first and foremost, like I think we can all admit that being ripped is really fun,
Right.
but also because your longer term goal is to, I'm gonna say like add as much muscle tissue as humanly possible, possibly, that's just gonna extend your runway a little bit further as to like how long you can take your build. That I mean, I don't know if that was really adding a whole lot more value than what you guys said, which I do agree with, but that's
No,
what
that's
I
a
would
great
say. Like
point.
if your life is gonna get like substantially worse and harder from here on out, and you've already hit that sticking point, that's kind of the conversation I would then have. Like, is it truly worth it at this point? But to Jeremiah's point, we can see enough of your physique to like understand, what direction we need to go in from like an exercise selection standpoint, programming. Um, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good point. I would agree. Like you will, when you start, your body starts to push back and we start to dip below what's sustainable. In this instance, if we weren't planning to do like a photo shoot or something of the sort, that's probably when I would stop. Okay, let's transition to the build. Cool. All right, let's continue from here then. Next up, um, when did you, Andrea, and Natalie decide you were ready to compete?
Go ahead, Natalie. Max is barking.
Um, I didn't decide, my coach did. So, I'm not sure if the question is more like when did you decide to pursue it, or
I think
when
so.
did you decide like, yeah, oh,
Or I think probably like start like, okay, I'm going to start pursuing prep within
yeah, like,
relatively soon.
um, I left all of that to my coach. I told him a few years back that I was interested in competing specifically in the figure division. And, he said, yeah, that's something I could totally see happening. We can work towards that. And I really just gave him the wheel. And, when he said go, then it was go time. And so I know from his perspective, he said, well, you're not stepping on stage until you can win an overall. And, I just had enough faith that he wasn't going to put me on stage until he knew I was ready. And I was
Yeah,
willing to wait because I wasn't really in a rush. It's a bigger division, and, I knew that building more muscle and creating the shape that I needed wasn't like a bad move for me. So,
for sure. Okay. What about you, Andrea?
Kind of similarly, I knew that I wanted it to be a long-term goal, so I gave Brittany, my coach, a long timeline. Like I would like to compete by the time I'm 40, and she just kind of took it from there. Um, and mapped out the timeline. So we went through a couple build phases, and then she just was like, "Okay, let's start prep." So I think that before that, though, knowing that you're ready to even set that as a long-term goal, is you just need to be living the lifestyle consistently. Like you shouldn't have to talk yourself into meal prepping or following your nutrition plan or getting into the gym. Like those things should be part of your life and a habit at that point before you even consider prepping, because it's going to only get more difficult from there because you're adding in cardio time and posing time and mobility. Like you're just adding things onto that. So if you don't even have a really solid foundation of your nutrition and your training, then you're probably not going to be able to juggle all of those things.
Yeah,
if you have days now where you like don't want to go to the gym and that's a struggle for you, that will not get better in contest prep because you really will not feel like it, but you just have to go anyway. I think something Andrea and I both have in common, and Jeremiah too, is that we're all very process oriented. And I think all of us are just more interested in the process than the actual presentation. Even though we understand the presentation aspect is like the culmination of the process. But, we consider like all of the lead up to prep part of the process. So I know like I started with Dom back in 2023 with this goal, and he, I waited 2 years to get on stage, and that was fine by me because I enjoyed the work anyway.
absolutely. I think that if you have a lot of doubts in your ability to follow through with the process, which might like kind of be the underlying question here, that's probably something to work on continuing to improve. Like to Natalie's earlier point, it's not that when we're not in prep, it's like, oh, I always want to go to the gym. I'm always super excited about it, right? We for sure all have days where we probably still don't want to, but there's never a doubt like this is the standard that I'm going to hold myself through and to, and I know we can follow through with that. If you're in a place where it's like, I'm not sure if I can do that, it might be worth just taking some more time to continue to improve that first, and that'll carry over to your results as well and like put you in a better place for that process. Anything else before we continue? All right.
Yeah, I think there's, oh, sorry. I think there's a
You're
little
good.
bit of a lag here. But I think that, a lot, you see a lot now on social media that's very like recovery focused. And it's very like, don't train if you had a bad night of sleep or, you're not feeling 100%. And I think for someone who's interested in competing, you have to have like racked up a few reps of like going anyway. I'm not saying it's like 100%, when you feel bad, you should always go to the gym or like always do your cardio or something, but it's kind of like more often than not you just go anyway. 'Cause like
Yeah.
that's just not I think a lot of people think that they're just going to flip some sort of switch once like the prep hammer drops and it's like, "Oh, well, now I'm serious about it." And it's like, no, because if you if you think that you didn't feel like it before, you really are not going to feel like it several times throughout prep.
Cool. All very well put. What are some exercises you recommend using cable machine over a bar slash dumbbells for? Front raises? This is just gonna be very dependent on, I mean, what do we have available? I I would say like, so like a lateral raise, for example. A lot of times a cable lateral raise is gonna have a bit more consistent resistance. Dumbbell lateral raise will fall off a lot at the bottom, be quite hard at the top. We get a bit more resistance at the bottom with a cable. And that's true for a lot of movements. Like we can do like a cable face away curl and get a bit more consistent tension than we could with a bicep curl. Um, Even like to a degree, like a cable row versus a dumbbell row, we can get it just a bit more consistent. But there's still like it's more so about like what are we trying to address in terms of like how does this person move and what's going to be the best setup here? Like there's for sure a time like Natalie, you have a dumbbell row in your program consistently, correct?
I
Right.
really
And
like
we
it.
we could very easily argue a cable row as well, but like it's not there's
Oh, I have
it's
that
just a
too.
bit and a cable row, right? There's
Yeah.
it's just going to be context dependent.
Yeah.
For like you're pulling, I mean, for a lot of pulling movements, I think oftentimes cables can make a bit more sense. We can line things up a bit better and we can train like different divisions with a lot better just because dumbbells we can basically only row with. You guys have a better answer to this?
Yeah, I think one thing you want to consider would be loading as well. So a lot of people, have cable stacks that are really heavy,
Hmm.
and if they can't, I mean, because my go-to for lateral raises will always be like a cable. It is, I just prefer
Right.
it. It's like the constant resistance. But some people like have a super heavy cable stack, and like
Hmm.
they like can't lateral raise the weight. So then at that point, it's like, well, am I going to have them sit here and struggle and hit like 3 to 4 reps badly on this cable stack? No, I'm gonna like put it on dumbbells and we're gonna get a lot more out of it. So that would be like a scenario there. And then similarly for loading, I know like I have so many of my clients doing like half kneeling landmine delt press for
Yeah.
a whole host of other reasons. And a lot of times, like that, the barbell in the landmine setup will be quite challenging and heavy. So, like, I've put that on a cable before. Loading purposes, I think, are like one of the more pragmatic things I'm considering.
Yeah. The Again, the resistance profile is a big part of it as well. Like what range are we really trying to challenge the tissue? So basically, most of our dumbbell barbell movements are squats, lunges, hinges. So most of the lower body compound movements you would do with a barbell or dumbbell, those are going to be hardest in the lengthened position at the bottom. For our upper body, our pulling movements are typically going to be harder in the short and then a little bit easier in the stretch if we're using a dumbbell. Um, Whereas, so for example, and then our pushing movements will be harder in the stretch, a little bit easier at the top. So for example, if I was like training pecs with a client, we had dumbbells, we have cable, I might do a dumbbell press, going to challenge the pecs in the stretch position more, and then a cable fly going to challenge the pecs in the shortened position a bit more. So I mean, it's really just about what we want out of the exercise. Cool. Anything else there before we continue? Sick. All right. Any experience with REDS, aka relative energy deficiency syndrome, or hypothalamic amenorrhea? Well, not in prep. I mean, pretty common, at least like a missing menstrual cycle is fairly common for new clients. I mean, this can be driven by a lot of things. A lot of times, HA, again, hypothalamic amenorrhea, is going to be like related to undereating, stress, sometimes like a nutrient deficiency, someone on hormonal birth control or coming off of hormonal birth control. And relative energy deficiency is somewhat related. Again, typically these two will go hand in hand. A lot of times, like HA can come from relative energy deficiency, which is basically just relative to the amount of energy we are expending, largely through exercise. Our food intake is just too low. And so your body starts to downregulate other things like sex hormones, your cycle goes missing. Um, so yeah, it's fairly common in terms of addressing it. It's a pretty deep dive. I would say like biggest rocks typically, if we're looking at like, again, these are oftentimes somewhat hand in hand. It's typically lowering anything that drives fatigue to a degree, right? So it typically like it's very often to see this with like, hey, you're doing 20,000 steps a day. We're doing a ton of cardio. We're trying to train 5, 6 days per week. Doesn't mean we can't train hard, but sometimes we do need to reduce stress, like to reduce that training stress and pull back RIR as well. But a lot of times it might be like, hey, maybe we're going to pull your training back to 3 to 4 days a week. Maybe we're doing 10K steps. Maybe we're drastically reducing cardio for a period of time. And then working up our energy availability, which is food intake relative to our total muscle mass and the amount we're moving. So basically getting us consistently fueling better, eating more food, eating a lot more carbs. That's of course important as well. But increasing basically the ratio of calories we're consuming to the calories we're expending. If you're extremely lean, it can oftentimes be body fat related as well. And that's like another variable. Sometimes you're just too lean. And again, this can oftentimes come with like being in a place of low energy availability, and being too lean go hand in hand. Sometimes you may have to gain back some body fat if we want like a healthy, consistent cycle. So many of our sex hormones are tied to our body fat levels. Those would be like the biggest rocks. Anything else y'all would add there?
I'd say we see this pretty consistently with like high performing type A women.
Mhm.
Um, you know, HA obviously with women. Um, but I think the profile that you kind of mentioned, Jeremiah, is spot on in terms of like this is the client we're often seeing, with like 20,000 steps a day. It's like they're doing all the things, and they're trying to
Yeah.
push very hard in all aspects of their life. And I think in my experience, most clients who are dealing with this sort of thing really want like one bullet point as to like, why is this an issue? And they want you to say like, oh, it's as simple as like this. It's as simple as I'm not eating enough. It's as simple as like I'm moving too much. But it's really related to that allostatic load. Like your stress bucket, by the way, is like
Mhm.
it's overflowing, right? And we have so many inputs into that stress bucket, and like the things that we can actually directly control, like as a nutrition coach, and more physiologically, will be things like your training and your movement and your food. So I mention this because usually elsewhere in this client's life, they are dealing with like high stress in other areas.
Yeah.
And those are often, I mean, those often do also need to be addressed, but are well outside of our scope. Like I'm not going to insert myself into someone's like job or like working relationship and be like,
Fix
hey,
their marriage.
right, exactly. So like there's usually a lot of just like stress present. And I think again, a lot of this fits the profile of the hard charging, like kind of more like type A, like high achieving person, which are all great qualities, to some extent. But what we see is like these things taken a little bit too far. So through training, nutrition, eating enough, like recovery, we have to like address what we can there to like basically undo some of the stress.
hmm And there's for sure like a lot more. Like if this is something we're addressing, we'll typically want to look at labs that will uncover a lot more. There will a lot of times see like things related to the adrenals as well that we want to address. And there's again like from lifestyle and nutrition and a supplementation perspective, a lot more we can do. But in terms of this podcast, I don't think it makes sense to get any deeper than that. Any last thoughts there, Angela, before we continue?
No, I don't think I can add to that.
Cool. Please share your thoughts on calf building for women. Do you incorporate it? I don't know if
Not
this is a
usually. It's
okay.
typically not a primary focus for most women. If someone came to me and said they wanted to really build their calves, then we would do it. But there's only so much time in a week for you to allocate volume. And so that tends to not be a huge priority. Um, but I will sometimes use like a seated calf raise as a primer to get somebody's ankles moving. Um,
That's what I was gonna say.
Maybe a stiff-legged um, calf extension just to add a little bit of hypertrophy stimulus, but that's typically it. Usually like maybe four sets per week. But it's not any different for men versus women, and it's not really any different than other muscle groups. It's just that most people are using them similar to what we are and deprioritizing them and putting them at the end of a session instead of allocating more volume and intensity to it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'll do like if I have someone like I have a few clients who do train like 5 times a week.
Mhm.
So that's when I'll like tend to add because it is like one of those nice to haves. But like for a lot of my clients training like 3 or 4 times a week, like that's usually not a priority. But I do somehow get a lot of like runners and like people who are interested in running races. And like this is not me saying that I'm a running coach. Okay, so like do not please no one come like fleeing to me thinking that like I'm gonna marathon train them or something. But somehow I do have like a lot of ladies who are like very interested in running races and whatnot. And so a lot of them are dealing with things like knee pain. So like Andrea mentioned for primers, for example, like getting you like a seated calf raise, for example, like dorsiflexion, like hip flexion, knee flexion, like all of these things. We're ticking like a lot of those boxes there. Tibial rotation also like will be very kind of like handy for like people experiencing knee pain. So like there's a lot of reasons to want to like address that, but much less so from an aesthetics. Like I don't know, have you guys ever onboarded someone and looked at their goal physique and been like, this is what they're missing. This is it.
No.
Is Jeremiah still with us?
He's
Sorry,
muted.
I couldn't get it to unmute. Um, no, I haven't. It's very rare. I have a few clients, few females who have asked about it, and yeah, I've programmed it. But as you said, even with 4 days a week, because it's rare, someone's like, I'm good to spend 90 minutes plus in the gym. I feel like a lot of times I'm already like, oh man, there's a couple things I would love to include in this program that I already can't. And then calves are normally just so far down that priority list. They'll get us some stimulus from like, we're not going to like regress our calves if we don't train them. We'll just basically maintain. So yeah, I would fully agree on all that. Basically, largely it's used as a primer. None of us are opposed to women building their calves, however, but it's just not a big priority for a lot of clients. Um,
I have
when
calves.
do you still have
I used
calves three
I
days a
used
week?
Oh, I used to have it three days a week for years, and then Ridpath was like, "Okay, I'll let you do like 2 days only." Felt like a gift.
Hilarious.
So,
Dom hit
yeah.
him up. He was like, "Hey, keep her at 3 days a week."
Yeah.
Um, when adding 30 to 40-minute cardio sessions to a plan, is it okay to break it up over the day, like 15 and 15? My personal take here, I typically tell people like once we get too far below like 20 minutes, I mean, it depends on what we want out of this, but if we're trying to get like the zone two adaptations out of this, we need that session to be like 20, 25 minutes before we really start getting a lot of the beneficial zone two adaptations. And then the other aspect of this is like we're going to prescribe a heart rate target for cardio. Unless you're not starting that 15 minutes until you hit your heart rate target, which I would recommend regardless, but it's like if it's like, hey, we're spending the first couple of minutes getting your heart rate target up, you're almost like wasting more time, I think, splitting it up into such small blocks. I mean, like, I just really think once if we're splitting up less than 20, it's cutting it a bit short. What's y'all's take here?
I think less for me I think I'm a little bit more like less than 15. I'm like please don't. But like for 30 minutes I'm going to recommend you do that in one go. I think once we're getting like over 40 minutes for me personally
Mhm.
would be where I'd like if we're doing like
Yeah.
45 minutes of cardio, um, and I gotta say, like, unless I have someone that I'm pushing very hard for like a photo shoot prep, or maybe we're like in a very specific phase where we're just like driving energy expenditure more, um, I don't have too many people doing more than like 40 to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's not to say I wouldn't. It's just that, again, unless someone's pushing very hard for like a photo shoot prep or stage prep or something like that, I can't see much of a reason to like go beyond that.
Yeah.
Personally, I think I agree with all of that. If you have to because you're running out of time in the morning and it's the only way for you to get it all in, then fine. But I think once you start bargaining with yourself like that, there's more of a chance that you're going to miss the next session of the day. And you're just kind of setting yourself up for like, uh, I'll just tack it on to tomorrow. And then you just kind of get like, you're just bargaining with yourself. And I don't like it from that perspective.
I think it could be an interesting question psychologically to ask, like, why are we trying to break it up? Is it like an avoidance of like boredom or something of the sort? And the hard ass in me wants to say, like, suck it up
All of
and get
you.
it done. No, no, I mean, in the sense of some people do need to develop the skill set of like being bored, and just like doing a hard thing. And
Mhm.
of course, this is so client dependent and like individually specific, depending on your goals. But probably not every phase of nutrition and season of life is going to necessitate you needing this much cardio, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe your baseline is going to be more like 20 minutes, like 4 times a week or something like that. So if we're just kind of going through a shorter period of time, like for a while, where we need you to do like 30-minute sessions, is that is it really too much to ask or like the hardest thing for you to like just get through 30 minutes of cardio? And again, I'm assuming this isn't related to like a scheduling thing and that this is just like, hey, can I just break it up because it's more entertaining for me?
Yeah. Or like do 15 minutes pre, 15 post, something like that. Yeah, I would
Mm-hmm.
agree. And again, like if you're having to get your heart rate up to the target twice in the day, you're probably burning
Mm-hmm.
like an additional 5, 6 minutes there. Like we're ultimately making it take more time than less. I have some clients where I do split it up. Like, hey, I have them doing, let's say, 90 minutes of cardio. Cool, split this up across 3 to 4 sessions in the week, right? And there again, like, let's just try
Totally.
not to drop it below 20 minutes per session. But if you want one to be like 40 and then make those other two a little bit shorter, sick. Um,
Right.
cool. I don't have anything else to add there unless y'all do.
Mm-mm.
All right. Similar note, what do you usually consider cardio when prescribed to a client? Quote unquote cardio when prescribed to a client? Zone two or something else? I'm typically going to just go zone two. So, I mean, rough calculation for that being 220 minus your age times zero point 0.7, roughly 70% of your max heart rate. For most people, I mean, being somewhere between like about 120 and 135 is a pretty safe bet for zone two, depending on how fit we are. That like we might need to get higher into the 130s, or if we're not all that fit, like pushing over 130 might be getting a bit high, but somewhere around there's a pretty good target for most. Pretty rare. I'll prescribe like higher intensity. I mean, lower intensity than that is we're just getting steps. We're not really getting a whole lot of other adaptations. So I would just consider that steps. I'm not going to prescribe anything a whole lot more intense than that very often. Anything else y'all would add there?
Yeah, I've got a few people doing hit either for like time perspectives, because like again, it's like going to be 16 minutes and I know they're
Hmm.
going to like push hard.
Yeah.
Or I know we've talked about this before, but when we're trying to get someone to just like push harder in general,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
get a little bit of get up and go, we're kind of like trying to develop that within them. Um, and then I also have a client who I had him doing 3 cardio sessions per week. And what we were doing was we were doing like one zone two, one zone three, and like one hit. Because we were kind of trying to like tick all of the boxes,
Okay.
just for like a broad-based like longevity. And then of course we were like lifting as well. So we were trying to kind of just like make him well-rounded, tick a lot of boxes. We were doing that for a little while. Uh, so to answer the question, like, yes, I have, but my go-to for most people is going to be zone two.
Yeah. I will use HIIT occasionally as well. Similar to what you said, if there's a time constraint, typically not going to in a fat loss phase, but like if we're in a building phase and there's a time constraint, especially if it's someone where I notice like, hey, it's kind of just almost like where our cardio is gassing out first and like our lower body training especially, and we don't have a lot of time to like add more like zone two cardio. I will just, hey, we can like stack on even just as simple as like 30 seconds on, 90 seconds off for like 3 or 4 rounds at the end of a couple sessions per week better than nothing and can get us some anaerobic adaptations in that case that will help us be able to push a bit harder here or again just get better at pushing hard. Cool. Um, what effects can menopause have on building muscle? Do they build slower? It
The the effect that would mostly impact rate of muscle gain is going to be where their hormone status is. So menopause comes with a decline in hormones, all of your sex hormones. Well, it comes with a roller coaster of your estrogen, but your testosterone tends to start declining, and that's going to have a pretty large impact on the amount of muscle that you're able to build. So that I would say that that's the primary thing. I would also say that just by this point in someone's life, if they haven't had really good habits and been on top of micronutrients, or they've had a history of chronic dieting, thyroid may not be in the best place. And that also has an impact on obviously fat loss, but it does have an impact on building muscle as well.
yeah. Yeah, it's gonna again if sex hormones are in a poor place, testosterone is at a poor place. And depending where your estrogen is at, it might be low. Again, it can oftentimes is more like a roller coaster. Um, both will have a large impact on recovery, your ability to build muscle. Testosterone is going to have a large impact there. And yeah, almost always see like for this client profile, thyroid is typically not in an incredible place either. So yeah, it can have a big impact, but it's again not like menopause in itself. Like this is largely what HRT is designed for. Is like cool. If we're back in a good place, then like just the fact that you're in menopause shouldn't be a limiter here. Anything else to add? Cool. Um, how to make lettuce fun?
Well, right now, I don't know
Really,
if it is.
it's like a game of Russian roulette if you eat lettuce right now. So that's a good time. I honestly don't really eat lettuce. Do y'all eat lettuce?
I actually don't. Remember, like, when Brandon DeCruz and I came down to visit you, and of course
Hmm.
I mean, I know you remember that, but man, he was on lettuce, like the shredded lettuce game, like all day, every day. He was doing fat loss too, and I was just like, it's just like I know a lot of bodybuilders that do as well. It's like they do the whole like shredded lettuce mustard, combo. And it's just like it's something that just doesn't really occur to me a whole lot. But
I have a daily salad right now, or most days. I just put some taco meat and salsa in it and bell peppers.
Even when I've done
would
like
you
I
say
do like a
that it
salad.
makes
Go ahead.
you're making lettuce fun again?
It's a pretty good meal. It's pretty fun.
I'll typically like when I was working with Brandon and I was doing the big ass salads, I would do like spinach or like mixed greens, like
Yeah,
spinach and char or
same.
whatever, or like some kale. Um, lettuce is not very nutrient dense at all relative to like your other greens, but there's nothing wrong with it. In terms of making it more fun, yeah, put some taco meat on it, put some mustard on it, um, inject
Or
it.
like depending on your definition of fun, I would say like some high calorie honey mustard, like that would make it pretty fun. Again, depending on your definition, there's a lot of tasty, fun things you could put on it. I it's funny because I feel like with all the talk about like abdominal distension and like I don't want to put this in people's heads, but I feel like in my bodybuilding journey, I've like shied away from those types of meals, like the big ass salads and whatnot, because like I am usually trying to like keep my core tight.
Yeah.
And those are just like higher volume foods. I do put some, I still have spinach every day, which I put in like my eggs. But it's like, it's literally like 30 grams of spinach. And I would say like gone are the days where I'm like volume maxing, and I'm just like, when you look at the calories of spinach, for example, like 30 grams is not a whole lot. So it's like, it could be tempting to be like, well, I might as well do 60 grams of spinach, like double the volume, because I can, it's not really going to offset my carbs or calories that much. But like, I just don't anymore. Like,
I had a
Well,
couple
meat
of
is,
people where they've had some digestive stress, and I'll go look and they're having like a 300-gram salad.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it definitely can cause some digestive stress.
yeah,
I
I
don't
for
think
sure
that's how
think
to make, I think that's like how to make lettuce not fun. It's like abdominal distension and gut
Yeah.
problems.
I for sure think the volume, like as you said, volume maxing. I think people can take it way too far. I find the biggest volume eaters are almost always those who are the most food focused, and yes, also have the most in terms of gut issues. And I think part of it is like you are kind of training yourself. Like there is, yes, there's stretch receptors in our gut. More volume will indicate that we're full. That's not the only satiety signal though. But I think we can kind of train ourselves that the only way I feel satisfied or full is if I do feel like my stomach is like stretched and had a large quantity of food. And so it almost seems to backfire for a lot of people where we're like always so focused on I don't have that sensation, so I am hungry. Again, to a degree, like there's so often things we can improve with someone's food selection to a reasonable amount, but when someone's fiber is getting way past like 15 grams per thousand calories, it's oftentimes I find like not beneficial and if anything kind of detrimental. Cool. All right, we have time for just a few more. I'm sorry, Mike. I don't know if that actually helped to make lettuce fun or not. Um, how many shitty sessions would you have before concluding you might need to deload? Context, work stress is pretty high. I love training and trade hard. 4 lifts and 1 to 2 runs. What do y'all think here?
If you're asking this question, take a day off from the gym and see how you feel, man. Like, because we all know the way this works now. Like, you are not going to substantially lose any, like, if any, progress by taking 1 to 2 days off of training. So if you suspect this is a thing, give it a miss for a couple days and see if you feel better. Um, if this is something you're running into every single month, this is a conversation that we need to have with your coach in terms of like, is your programming appropriate for you? Like, is
Mhm.
your program appropriate? Like, meaning, can you recover from it? Or is it really just like a particularly stressful time in your life and your work? And, that allostatic stress load is just building. And so we just need to take something off your plate for like a day or two. But honestly, like test and guess, it's test over guess. So like take a day off and reevaluate and go from there and see how you feel. I think people really want some like specific prescription here. Like you need to train, I'd say like 4 bad sessions in a row and like you get a deload or something, but it doesn't really work like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I find that oftentimes if you're like asking but scared to take a deload, you're probably the person where like, yes, it's time to. On the counter, I've worked with some individuals where it's like, dude, I know how low our volume is. I see our training. I like see our biofeedback on our progression. Like we're progressing well. Our biofeedback is good. We don't need a deload like every 2 weeks where we can still like squeeze out more than this kind of, but it's more so like other mental variables that we're working through. But yeah, I would say for sure, like if we like take a day or two away or pull back for a day or two, we feel significantly better. We see like more progression in the gym again. Cool. Probably a good sign the deload was needed. If not, maybe we didn't need one yet. But yeah, I would just test it out.
I would
I think
also
I'll also,
I would also want to know when was the last one, and then
Hmm.
what is it, what do you mean by like having a bad session? Is it just that you didn't
mhm.
feel motivated, or or you really didn't progress your lifts at all across the board. Like, did you progress all but one or two, and then you're deeming that that was a bad session? That's still a good session. You shouldn't progress every single lift every single time you go into the gym. That's normal.
Or also another one we catch our clients on a lot is like it's not progressing. And like let's say they have 3 sets and like one set gained 1 rep, that's progression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everyone's expecting like every set every week to go up. But like a lot of times like you might like even maybe your top set goes up 1 or 2 reps and then actually maybe you lose a rep in the second set. But like hey, you still push that top set harder. So we've done something to make progress there. So we like to Andrea's point, how are you defining bad session? And like I would add things like aches, pains, like joint niggles and like things of that nature. Like, is this something that's just like been brewing for a long time? And now it's like we're not progressing and we're also just like feeling some pain or discomfort and like therefore not moving well. Like, that's a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. We recorded an episode on April 3rd called Understanding Your Training Logbook. Are you actually stalled and how quick should your progression be? If you want like a more concrete answer to this, go back and listen to that episode. It's like 10, 12 episodes back. That like from the science behind it, what exactly we look for, I think that answers it beautifully. But that is all we have time for today. We will get to the rest of the questions soon. As always, thank you all for all the questions. If you enjoy the show, do us a huge favor, leave us a 5-star rating or review. If you want to work with our team, hit the link in the show notes, and we will catch you guys next time.